Warning, heavy spoilers. If you care about spoilers and think you're going to play this game at some point, I suggest not watching this video as I'm basically going to spoil the entire plot of the game in this video. You have been warned. Alright, my last time playing a Mario and Luigi game was probably Bowser's Inside Story, and god, did I love that series. I didn't even totally understand that it was a series, even though I'd been playing it since Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, and I didn't realize it was an RPG, or what an RPG was, but that's not important. The point is, I've got history with these games, but I definitely fell out of love with them at some point. I don't know, perhaps they just got childish for me, or perhaps okay, this is the reason. I basically only played Pokemon and Minecraft from ages 13 to 21. But I'm back. RPGs outside of Pokemon are back on the table. Mario and Luigi Brothership is a shockingly long story with a pretty engaging narrative, even if it is quite simple. As per usual, you play as Mario and Luigi. I know, can you believe it? And you have to save the world, can you believe it? Only this world is called Concordia, and all the people are like weird human power outlet, excuse me, hybrids. You have a little sidekick guy called Snoutlet, who is very determined that he's not a pig, yet he cannot stop making pig-themed puns. Right away, the battle system feels so familiar, given my history with the franchise, and also how similar it is to the combat in like the Paper Mario games. I just played Thousand Year Door recently, thanks to the Switch remake, and I used to play the N64 version a ton when I was a kid, so I am super familiar with the whole, you know, timing moves thing. And also there was that remake of Mario RPG recently, I played that too. So I guess this combat system is kind of just a staple of every single Mario RPG. But either way, Mario and Luigi does have its own unique twist on the battle system, given the different controls for Mario and Luigi and how the different characters will attack you guys at the same time, and you kind of have to like awkwardly press the buttons and then usually pick it up in my case. But there's a reason every single Mario RPG has some timing system. It does a great job at making battles more engaging, especially for kids. I'm not a snot-nosed little baby, so I can play big boy RPGs like, you know, Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, but either way, the move timing is a fun time, you know, and it can add an extra layer to battles, with battles either being super, super easy or incredibly hard, depending on how well you can learn an enemy's moves. I think another staple of this series is just funny or interesting characters. Now, unfortunately, the characters here are not really that funny. However, I'd say they make up for it by actually all being pretty chilled out dudes that I really like. You know, the idol kids are charming, Technicky is kinda cool, Connie is adorable, and I would protect her with my life. Issarak! Man, I hate Issarak. Why does she talk the way she does? Issarak is excluded from this. I am the world's #1 Issarak hater. Now, outside of Issarak, I found the characters to be charming, and they actually made me want to save this wacky little world. Snoutlet is a cool sidekick, too. I found him to be helpful, if not a little overbearing and handholdy at times. He was a good foil to the Mario Brothers at least, and, you know, all around, I'd say he's a chilled out dude. You know, shout out Snoutlet. The art direction was great, of course. It's funny how when I was watching the direct where they announced this game, I just instantly recognized that it was Mario and Luigi, just based on the art style. Before Mario and Luigi had even appeared on screen, I feel like. I don't know how they pulled that off. I mean, just kudos to the team on that, on the art direction. And, you know, Mario and Luigi are super expressive. They always react to things going on around them, which, I don't know, it looks really good, it looks cool, it makes sense. And I also love Peach's design. The Peach design in this game is peak Peach design. IMHO. Music is great as well, but I don't have a ton to say about it outside of that. There aren't any standout tracks necessarily, but it's a video game. I don't know that there needs to be. Now, as far as gameplay in the battles is concerned, I think the plug system really added a fun layer to it. I really enjoyed going through all my plugs and swapping them out to try and find the best combinations. I will say most of the plugs feel kind of useless, like I barely ever used a maple syrup item or whatever they're called. I think just only towards the end of the game I started using them a bit, but your main plugs are just going to end up being the like explosion plug that hurts the other enemies near the one you're attacking, and then, you know, with the spike ball plugs that drop the spike balls on the enemies. Outside of that, you're kind of not really going to be touching. I mean, you're kind of forced to, in that like you can only have so many turns with the same plug, so it does kind of force you to use different plugs, but you know, most of the time you're just immediately going to switch back to the two that I just described, the second that they're restored for you to use them. Outside of combat, I thought the puzzles in the overworld were decent, though I didn't find any of them to be particularly challenging. Alright, that's most of the stuff I could think of that I liked about the game. Now let's get into the good stuff. The stuff I didn't like so much. Number 1, the frame rate. Good God, the Switch 2 cannot come soon enough. It is unacceptable that a game that looks like this one is dropping frames. How can Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom play the way they do on the Switch, but the goofy-ass Mario RPG is dropping frames? It is utterly insane. Now, all that being said, I don't really care all that much about the dropped frames. If I did, I would absolutely not be a Nintendo fanboy. It just has to be said in order to give an honest review of the game. Another thing, the game is way too long. I actually still haven't even beaten it yet as I'm writing this part of the script, and as I'm reading this part of the script, I still haven't beaten it. I'm at the very, very end. I wasn't. Or at least what feels like the very, very end. Again, it wasn't. I keep thinking, all right, here I am, the end of the game, and then it just keeps going on for like 2 or 3 more hours. I think I'm like 35 hours in right now, which, like, on the one hand, I'm getting what I paid for, but on the other hand, for a goofy little Mario RPG with a decently shallow story, it's kind of a bit much. I only have so many hours in my day. Update: I have played the game for another 2 to 3 hours since writing that, and it's clear there's still another 2 to 3 hours ahead of me. You know, update since then, since writing this, is that I've played for like 4 or 5 hours since then, I think. I don't know. At least it feels that way. This game is never ending. I don't know, maybe there's 2 or 3 more hours from where I'm at now. Maybe a generation will live, die, and the memory of them be forgotten, and I will be here still, playing Mario and Luigi Brothership. Or maybe I actually am towards the end now. I'm like, this time I'm confident I'm at the end of the game. I'm like in the second boss battle. I don't know. I have to be at the end this time. Battles can get pretty repetitive, which really isn't a fault of this game, but just an aspect of RPGs as a genre. You know, what I will say is the enemies can oftentimes be way too close to each other, so it feels like you're constantly grinding battles and making very little progress in the game, like not getting very far in the overworld. The mechanics get introduced hella slowly. As I mentioned before, I think the plugs are the best part of the battle system, yet it takes something like 7 or 8 hours of playtime before you can even start using them in just a limited way. I could see that being a huge turnoff to folks looking for a deeper battle system. The fact you have to get that far with just boring-ass gameplay before it actually gets a little good. I will say, overall, the game is pretty damn easy outside of a few boss fights. This can either be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on, you know, personal preferences. I kind of like that it wasn't overly challenging, as it was a decently casual experience, which is pretty much what I'm looking for when I want to play a Mario game. There are definitely a few too many places to heal completely, where the healing is totally free. Also, running from a battle has just 0 consequences outside of, you know, you just don't get the EXP from beating these guys. You know, both of these things probably needed a cost to them to help balance the difficulty a little bit, or I guess lack thereof. Speaking of the fights that were a bit difficult, there's some enemy patterns that I just cannot for the life of me get down, and I screw it up every single time. The birds. I hate the birds so much. The amount of times I have jumped on Mario with Luigi should get me thrown in the Hague and being tried for war crimes. I think this one might be a bit more of a mad 'cause bad though, rather than an actual critique of the game, so, you know, take that with a grain of salt. There are a ton of side quests available in the game, of course. It's an RPG after all, but honestly, most of the side quests are absolutely not worth doing, which, now that I'm thinking about it, is, you know, that's probably most RPGs. Sometimes I'd go out of my way to try and complete them while the boat was sailing to the next area, but a lot of times the rewards would be like 2 mushrooms for like a lame fetch quest or something. Just not super fun, though some of the side quests did help deepen the story a bit, or, you know, flesh out some of the side characters a bit more. Speaking of characters, even though I do like most of the characters and find them to be quite charming, I'd say their dialogue falters here, and I agree with what some of the early reviewers were saying, in that the dialogue is not really funny. There was probably only like 2 times that I actually chuckled at what a character said, which is disappointing because the sense of humor used to be a staple of the Mario and Luigi series. It doesn't really feel like the writers actually tried to make it funny. They just did the bare minimum required for humor in a way that kind of felt like they had a quota of jokes to meet, so they just kind of threw them in as an afterthought. Another thing, Build It / Make It's Gear Shop. I didn't use it. I did a couple of side quests for it, but realized I have negative interest in going out of my way to find items to make gear that I was most likely not going to use. That sounded like the opposite of fun to me, so I avoided it. I think the shop could have been made more useful, but, you know, upgrading the hammer, overalls, and boots is just way more worthwhile than upgrading the gear, in my opinion. Another thing with the story, the Cause-It being Zocket reveal, a baby could have seen that coming a mile away. I caught it so far in advance of it being revealed, like so far. I was like, okay, definitely it's going to turn out to be Cause-It. But, you know, it's not that they were trying that hard to hide it. Like, you know, Zocket is literally just Cause-It with the C and the Z swapped around. the main thing I found a bit disappointing about the aspect of the story was the fact that Kazit was just purely brainwashed. Yeah, they mentioned that Reclusa was able to leverage a small bit of darkness within Kazit in order to brainwash her, but either way, it's a bit boring, isn't it? There's no semblance of self-awareness from Kazit in choosing to help Reclusa, like no turn to the dark side or anything. You know, I know it's a kid's game and a Mario game at that, so perhaps that would have been maybe a little too dark, but I don't know, man. Imagining how much more impactful that would have been to the story if it was revealed that Kazit had actually been evil all along, yeah, it just lets me down a bit. Alright, I think I spent way longer talking about stuff I didn't like versus stuff I did like, but I swear, I do actually like this game. I think the good stuff absolutely outweighs the bad stuff here. If I had to give it a rating, I'd probably stick it at like a 7 out of 10. This isn't like a must-have experience, like you gotta play this game. I think you can definitely skip it if, you know, from what I described here, you don't sound interested. I would say though, if you're a fan of the Mario and Luigi series, or perhaps you've played the Mario RPG or Thousand Year Door remakes recently, and you want a little more Mario-style RPG, you know, definitely pick this game up. You're probably going to have a good time. All right, that's the video. Thank you guys for watching. For the viewers that have been around here for a while, I'm planning on getting back to uploading here to YouTube going forward. The goal is to be uploading weekly on Wednesdays. We'll see if I'm able to stick to that or not. I'm crossing my fingers I can. I really want to make an effort to. I really, really do. I miss uploading to YouTube. For the most part, I think I'm just going to be doing like reviews of games or like talking about video games in a way. I don't know, I might upload some other stuff too here and there, we'll see. To give the longtime viewers a life update on myself, I just got married on November 10th to my longtime girlfriend, now wife, Paige, who I'm sure you guys remember. We're super happy and stoked to have finally made it to this point together, and her support is one of the reasons I've decided to go back to making videos, so big shout outs to my wife. If you guys like this style of video, let me know. If you have any ideas on how I can improve, or if, you know, there's another type of video you'd like to see me make, just, you know, let me know. I don't know, I could do a Let's Play or stream or something. I don't know. Maybe those are a little cliche. I don't know. Either way, thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. I'm not doing the outro. You guys are going to want me to do the longtime viewers are going to want the outro, but I'm not doing the outro. I have grown as a person. I'm not him anymore. Goodbye.